So hope you guys are having a good day. You guys see the title, you see the thumbnail, you know, and it was just a matter of time before, you know, the PSP emulator was a little bit more tweaked and refined. And, you know, I found new ways to just run it like super good so that it could feel like an actual PSP. And I know I somewhat get hate comments on my short videos, and most of them are something along the lines of like, and this was mainly with like the DS emulator on the Switch. They'd be like, bro, I could do this on my Samsung Galaxy S27 and ray trace them in 4K. Like, why would I do it on a Switch? But like, they missed the point of my whole goal was, you know, playing PSP games on the Switch, because it's like somewhat retains like the original nostalgic value of kind of playing it on a handheld, but just on a bigger screen, a little bit more enjoyable, way brighter, especially if you have, you know, an OLED Switch. Enough rambling for the intro. Let me just give you a quick summary of what I'm going to go over. So first, number one, obviously you need a jailbroken, hacked Switch. This video is, I'm not going to show you how to hack your Switch. I'm not going to show you any of that, like the installation process. What I'm going to be showing you is the game compatibility, because it's different on, you know, the Switch versus like the computer, for example. I'm going to talk about the BIOS files. I'm going to talk about overclocking your Switch, the best settings on the emulator to get the best, you know, just so you can have it, like, enjoy it to its maximum potential. And then obviously I'm going to talk about like, is it enjoyable? I'm also going to go over, you know, is this better than playing PSP games on your phone or playing them on, you know, your computer, where it's like 10 times easier to run, you know? Before like we actually get started, I just want to make it very clear that this video is not sponsored at all. So if you want to sponsor, oh wait, I don't have a shirt on. Forget to put a shirt on. Just gonna pretend like that did not just happen. This video is not sponsored at all. So if you wanted to reach out to me for a collaboration or sponsorship, any inquiries of that nature, I will leave an email address in the description. So let's really get started now. Right now, my most viewed video, and I'm talking about like my most viewed full length video, is where like the first time you guys have seen on my channel, you know, running a PSP emulator on the Switch. And if you guys don't already know, the name of the actual emulator for the program is PPSSPP. I will leave a link in the description to like their info in case you want to show support to them. Like I said, not sponsored or anything. I mean, if anything, I'm probably not even going to get a sponsorship. I'll probably get a cease and desist, but we ball, you feel me? I was always kind of referencing the DS emulator on the Switch when trying to kind of perfect the PSP emulator. And by the way, I took a bunch of gameplay footage. I took like almost an hour worth of gameplay footage. So I'll be showing you guys, you know, all of that stuff, like the performance. The DS emulator, and this is something that a lot of people don't actually know, is that you can play DS games flawlessly, solid 60 throughout your whole entire gameplay. I've never seen it lag, never stutter, not once. But I've had a lot of people comment and tell me like, oh, wow, I didn't even know that that it runs perfectly, because when I saw other videos, and I know what other videos they're talking about, they'll be like, when I saw other videos, like the audio was choppy, it was laggy, it wasn't even like, it didn't even look good, and you know, whatnot. Those other people that made those videos, they're missing two major things. Number one, they're missing the proper DS and bio file. Bro, I can't talk. Number one, they were missing the BIOS files for the DS. And number two, they didn't have their Switch overclocked. Number one, the BIOS files for the PSP. This emulator does not require BIOS files, which is like, it's a good thing, but also it's kind of a bummer, in my opinion, because it like, then you can't like boot into the PSP BIOS the same way you can on the DS. And because on the DS emulator, you can boot into the DS BIOS, which is like a trip, like fat nostalgia hit, you feel me? And I think that's why my shorts went so viral, because I boot into the, you know, it's just a trip. I'm over here fangirling over the DS BIOS. I don't even know. But so yeah, you can't like boot into the PSP BIOS and, you know, like see the startup screen and whatnot. So, you know, I'm sure that's a bummer for, you know, most of you who grew up with a PSP. And I did actually get a recording of the PSP boot, and I was able to put it on my Switch and, you know, play it just as a regular video. So if you guys see that, that's what that was. And then moving on to number two is the overclock. Even with the BIOS files, it's still kind of not like perfect, right? But once you change the overclock, I believe the overclock is like, it's a CPU overclock, and I believe it's 1785 megahertz or something. I'm not too good with like the name and the numbers and technical like stuff like that. And keep in mind, you know, if you guys out there that are watching this, I'm explaining this and I explain my stuff in simple terms for consumers. So I don't know, I just get some wild comments sometimes, like people, I'm just like, dude, like it's not even that serious, bro. But here's the thing. In the DS emulator, which is Melon DS, by the way, the overclock option is integrated into the emulator. So you can just straight up go to the settings in the emulator and choose the overclock, but they don't have that in the PSP emulator. And I don't know why it took me so long to realize this, but I was just like, bro, I could just overclock the Switch. Like, so now there's a little program called Sys Overclock, and this is probably where you've seen videos on YouTube that have like a lot of views, like, oh, running the Switch in 4K, you know, overclocking and whatever. What I did is I just copy and pasted what I saw on the Melon DS emulator. So it's a CPU overclock. This is the setting. So I went into the settings in Sys Overclock. I went specifically in handheld mode because actually some people don't know this, but when your Switch is docked, it actually uses more power. So you have to specifically choose handheld mode. Why handheld mode? Obviously because, you know, I want to play my PSP games in handheld mode. So that way it still kind of feels like I'm playing on a PSP, just like on steroids, you know? So I went to handheld mode, CPU overclock, copied the same number that I saw on the Switch, on the DS emulator, did that, and the performance was like night and day. So now it just comes down to a matter of what games don't run well on this emulator and what games do run well. So like, for example, God of War Chains of Olympus, god tier performance. Like I think I might have played it for 20 minutes. I never saw it lag, never stuttered, not once. Solid, and we're talking like 60 FPS. Now, mind you, my settings are original, like native PSP resolution. So I know some of you, you know what, am I too focused on the haters? Because like, they just get to me sometimes, bro, I swear. But I know some people might cringe at that because they're like, now we live in a day where it's like, oh my God, like it's not 4K, bro. But it's just like, bro, it's not even that. See, like, you got to keep in mind, yeah, it might be the native render resolution of the PSP, but you're playing on a giant screen, well, in comparison to the PSP, and it's OLED. So it's going to look better regardless, you feel me? So some people, I don't know, some people are just kind of crybabies like that. But also, you don't want to be too demanding with the performance of your Switch, which was why I always leave it at the native resolution. The other setting that I changed was the texture filtering, because on the DS, you know, the goal was like pixel perfect. Like, you want pixel perfect because we haven't seen pixel perfect DS games since the DSi XL, and the 3DS doesn't even play them, you know, in pixel perfect. I was trying to do that on the PSP, but I noticed it kind of pixelates your games. And I noticed that in Midnight Club Los Angeles, which I'll get to in a bit. And I'll show you guys the footage where it pixelates your games. So actually, you don't want to do pixel perfect. You want to do, I think it's linear or max quality or something, but it looks like night and day too. And it doesn't it doesn't change performance at all. Like, it looks just 10 times better. And then speaking of game compatibility, like I said, Midnight Club Los Angeles, for example, it performs good. But see, the thing is like, you don't want your games to lag at all. You want it to feel like you're playing on native hardware. And on native hardware, it's never going to lag, you know? So, because when it lags, then it kind of like takes you out of it. Like, damn, I'm playing on an emulator right now and it's lagging. You feel me? And it's kind of like, that's the whole reason I wanted to play it on a Switch, because I feel like it's kind of like a trick on your mind to kind of feel like you're playing on a PSP, just a little bit more enjoyable, you know? The PSP emulator on the computer, it's like 99% of the games work perfectly fine, but it's not the same, you know, after it got ported to the Switch. Like, it's a whole different ball game. And I think your average consumer like mindset would think, okay, the PSP came out 20 years ago now, right? 20 plus years ago now. And, you know, like the Switch came out way more recently. Simple thinking would be like, of course it could run a PSP game like no problem, right? But that's actually not the case when it comes to emulation. Like, it's a whole different ball game. I guess like certain games that are more demanding, which, you know, like GTA or Midnight Club Los Angeles, that's where you find lag. And that might be because in those games specifically, there's a lot more NPCs. And I found this really specifically with Midnight Club 3, because I went, you know, I did a normal race with, you know, you got the NPCs, you're racing other people. But But then I did another race, an arcade one, where you like can control the level of, you know, traffic, and I'd set traffic to off, and the performance was like perfect. Like it never lagged anything. And I took footage of that too, so I'll be sure to put that. So mind you, you know, it's all really just going to be a matter of time. Like, you know, thank God that, you know, shout out to the people that work, you know, on these emulators and work on these ports. But yeah, it's really just gonna be a matter of time, and, you know, the developers fine tweaking, you know, the compatibility and I guess the configuration. Let me expand a little more on the subject that I mentioned like in the beginning, like with people that are going to be like, oh bro, well I can, you know, run this on my Samsung Galaxy S27 500 Ultra, and okay, I'm trying to be funny, but it's not. But I feel like the thing is, people just don't have respect anymore for other people's preferences. Like me personally, like growing up, I always saw a phone to make phone calls and to make text messages, and nowadays like maybe to, you know, like for social media purposes, but communication basically at the end of the day. Like I never saw it for gaming, bro. So and then on top of that, emulation, like just, I don't know, like it's just never really appealed to me. Some people in the comment section might tell me like, bro, why don't you just buy a Steam Deck, you idiot? Like, bro, this guy's stupid. First of all, bro, like I said, it's not that serious. Like, relax, please. Like, you're up here, like bring it down here, bro. People just think they could say whatever in the comment section, but like in real life, bro. But see, me, and this is my preference and my opinion, my personal preference, I just never liked the idea of having like a handheld computer, like a Steam Deck. And so that's why it's like when I look at the Switch, it's like more of a gaming console. And another thing I understood too, like at a younger age, this was before I started the gaming channel and everything, you know, the Dolphin emulator. For those of you who don't know the Dolphin emulator, that's the emulator that emulates the Wii. So, you know, via proxy, it's going to emulate the GameCube as well, because, you know, the Wii is backwards compatible with the GameCube, etc. Man, the team that works on the Dolphin emulator, they've gotten it so like to the point where it's so good. You can run 4K, like a Wii game in 4K on almost any computer. Like that's how good the configuration is. Like they've just, the Dolphin emulator is just so good. But the thing is, and this is not to like, I hope this isn't like disrespectful or like putting down like anyone or the Dolphin emulator. The thing is, like, you could never beat the feeling of turning on your actual Wii, seeing the menu, hearing the music, and turning on your game. Even if you put your connect your Wii controller to your computer, which is easy to do, still not the same. And I understood that because I remember I was playing Animal Crossing on my computer with Dolphin, and I was downloading like the 4K texture pack. It was always missing something, and I just like, once you turn on the Wii, like the nostalgia hits, like you just get all that back. So I feel like that's a chance, that's like something that people just overlook way too much. And especially for, I feel like you guys that grew up with the PSP can definitely like relate to that. You can understand why that it's like a whole mind game, you know? And so that's why I mentioned earlier, like you want to find like a middle ground where it's like, you kind of want to enhance the experience, but also retain some of the original value of still playing on a handheld. Is it better than playing on PC? I guess I'll put it to you like this. I'm going to ask myself a question and I'm going to answer it for you guys. For example, I just got done playing God of War Ascension and God of War Ghost of Sparta. So next is Chains of Olympus, right? And remember, if you rewind this video, I did say that it ran perfectly fine, no issues, no problems whatsoever. But I think at the end of the day, I will probably end up playing it on my computer instead, with plugging in Xbox One controller. But here are the things, here are the factors you have to put into consideration. Me, I never grew up with the PSP. I never, you know, so the nostalgia level isn't there for me. You know, the sentimental value isn't there for me. And number two, I just don't want to like put so much stress on my Nintendo Switch. Like having to overclock your CPU to the max setting, which by the way, it is the max setting, just kind of puts me on edge, and it's not really something I could do. And I can understand why other people don't want to do it either, because I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like kind of like shortens the lifespan of your Switch. And so I think really for me, what it comes down to is if I want to play PSP games on the go, I have it on my Switch. But if I'm home, which by the way, I'm usually always home. I don't like to go outside. I don't have any friends. PSP emulator configuration on the computer is so good. Like I can run it in 4K, like max settings, everything, like no issue. And it's only going to be using, you know, like it's not going to put any stress on my, you know, my hardware, my GPU, CPU, etc. You feel me? It's going to be more comfortable for me to play on the computer. And what about the PS Vita? So the PS Vita, mind you, had an OLED screen too, and it was bigger than, you know, the PSP. And I think what that comes down to is, do you want to play on a bigger screen? Like that's literally all it comes down to. And I'll show a picture because I have one. If you were to switch from like the Switch to the PS Vita, I think what you're sacrificing really is just the screen size for native hardware. Because essentially, I mean, you know, you are playing it on native hardware. And by the way, the PS Vita is backwards compatible with the PSP, in case you didn't know. Would I play PSP games on the Vita or the Switch if I had to choose between the two? I would say the Switch, to be honest. Just depends on what game though. Depends on what game for sure. But anyways, that's it. I think I talked your guys' ears off enough. I know I talk a lot, and you know, sometimes I talk in circles, you know, because I don't know. Sometimes I'm just like, but yeah, so if I could ask a favor from you guys, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like or dislike, either or, you know, give me feedback in the comment section. And also please consider, you know, subscribing. I would appreciate that. If you guys would like to follow me on like other social media platforms, that's going to be in the description, like my Instagram and things like that. I do have a Discord thing as well. No, but yeah, if you made it to the end, like shout out to you. Like you're a real one, bro, for real. Other than that, I do plan on making more content soon. And I do want to apologize for not uploading for a while, and I know I need to do more live streams, so be expecting more live streams, gameplay live streams soon, and more full-length videos soon. And if I'm being real with you guys on a whole nother level, I just haven't been in the right state of mind recently. So thank you guys for all like the positive comments and support, because that stuff helps me like a lot. Love you guys. Stay motivated, stay dedicated. As always, God bless you all. God bless America. God bless our troops, so on and so forth. Is there anything else? Hold on. Let's see. I should be good.